Well, hello everybody. Let's get into a midweek update. I will be going through some live trades with you guys. It's the 25th of June. Another Wednesday getting towards the end of the month. So let's get out there and start sharing some stuff, folks. You guys know how this works. We're going to be sharing ideas. I'm going to get to this chat board so I can start reading things when it comes to some of the suggestions you guys want to take a look at, and we'll just go from there.
All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. This video has been released to the public after a delay required by our compliance department. Maverick Traders received this market recap immediately, along with real-time trading support and resources. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that backs professional stock and options traders with firm capital. Our traders keep 70 to 80% of the profits they generate. If you're ready to become a professional trader, click the apply link in the video description below. Let's break down what happened in the markets today.
All right, so let's get started with the current outlook. And this is going to be a quick one. It's basically just a super bullish market. What we ended up having was a ceasefire that I really think just kind of pushed the markets above some resistance area here. We're going to take a look at kind of where we're at. Obviously, it's a +3 on the outlook for the week because we did break out of that high base. Finally, the slope moved up with the 20 and the 50. But on the monthly outlook, I only gave it a +2 because we're actually approaching some other levels that we set a little bit further back. So let's just get straight into the markets themselves. Here is our FinViz. You can see that we slipped a little bit here since the beginning. The NASDAQ and the S&P gapped up and they've come back down. That's kind of why I said, hey, we had that ceasefire and it's definitely carrying over and it will carry over today. But I just don't know where we're going to finish, folks. Are we going to finish higher, continue higher, or just kind of go sideways? Are we going to roll out or fall back down? Maybe some profit taking. Remember, a lot of times when we see these patterns, ascending triangle patterns, high base breakouts, low base breakdowns, they do tend to retest. So let's get into the SPY here. And I'm going to keep this a little zoomed out and shrink it down. Hopefully you guys can squint down here. But this is what I'm talking about. So this is wonderful. This is that really great, kind of an ascending triangle pattern. We had a breakout a little while ago. It retested and then it popped up and broke above this level. This is why I'm +3 for the week. Now, it can consolidate and pull back, but it's a +3 move. Now, when I take a look at this breakout, I go back further. This is why I'm zoomed out. And you can see that we're actually approaching those previous levels. So that's kind of why I was a little bit more of like a +2 for the month. I think we're going to just kind of lift our way up there, maybe consolidate, chomp around, and that might be a little bit more of a hesitation. Now, overall, folks, it's just bullish. It's just bullish. I don't know where else to go with that. So if you are making trades and they are +2, +1, +3s, they're probably working out for you. So let's keep that going as we continue with this class. All right, now that I'm off of my soapbox, at least for this part, let's get to a couple of trades that you are looking at. Well, real quick, let's take a look at our groups. Now, as you'd expect, communication services, technology up today. Surprising to see energy hanging in. Real estate dropped. We did have some housing numbers come out. But for the week's performance, look at energy here in basic materials. And that was basically the reaction when it comes to what happened overseas. I truly do. We had a huge spike in oil when the war started. And then we talk about the ceasefire and a huge drop. So it is definitely the most tumultuous. So no surprise there. We're starting to see some of the money go back into the darling areas, communication services, technology, even today. But it hasn't really changed over the week itself. So it's nothing new. We were already kind of glass half full. We already had a market that seemed to be comfortable going higher, and this was just another reason to move higher. I'm just going to chalk it up to that and kind of leave it there. All right, so let's get started with our first trade. It looks like it's going to be microchip. Yep, let's take a look at it here. Definitely, technology sector. Semiconductor, boy, I've got a list as well, and they're all basically kind of doing the same thing. So Let's draw it out. Just kind of this ascending triangle pattern here. I do like the range that it's kind of established over the last little bit, but I do like how it is, it's definitely bumping its head up in this area. We'll see if it can't break higher. I think it's a great bullish setup. Let me make sure that I'm writing these down as I go. I'm not wasting anybody's time. It's in the right sector. It's in the right place. It's also a stock that has been bounced around quite a bit with us in the community, you guys as well. I've seen it a couple of times. So it's looking pretty good. I like that. What could we do with it? Well, there's plenty on this. Weeklies, I think they're 250 strikes. It just depends on the target you want to be in. Now, folks, I'm still okay with the kind of the shorter term. A lot of the traders I've worked with lately saying, hey, how aggressive can I get? I'm looking for some plus ones, minus ones, and some zeros. And I kind of say, okay, yeah, that's kind of what we should be doing. However, it's not really a conducive market for it. It's either you're not making it or you are. The corrective action does cause problems, meaning you got your +2 and it'll go -2 pretty quickly, or your -2 will go +2, things of that nature. But I've found that smoothing it out, once again, what I was just talking about a little while ago, if you just kind of tripped, fell, and bought a +2 and let it sit for 2-3 weeks, you're more than fine. You're at max gain. You're probably past it. If you're trying to catch the A to B real quick, then your timing's got to be right, which is still fine. However, on the bear side, it's almost the same. And there was a couple that we looked at last week. Okay, since I'm on my tangent, let's go through some of them. Oh gosh, now I don't know where I put them. Where are we? Let's take a look at UNH. I don't know if that's bounced, but UNH just flat still, not doing very well. Let's get to. I had a list of the ones I wanted to see. There we go. KDP. This is Dr. Pepper Keurig, just consolidating. Didn't really participate in the bounce. In fact, I could put this more of a sideways right now. But what I'm trying to show you guys, here's Campbell's Soup. Look at that, still bleeding off. CAG, I think that one, but no, look at that, still bleeding off. So we're not getting the corrective action in the bears, the real bad ones that we're seeing in the bulls. So you can be a little bit more confident in some of those and just kind of let them meander down. So let's get back to it. So I do like microchip, and for the exact opposite of that reason. It just seems to participate. It's in the good spot, and it keeps moving along. So Bill wants to take a look at CNC. Here's another great example of that bear that just keeps bleeding off. We've kicked this one around a few times, sideways to slightly lower. You do not have to get aggressively bearish with these. We could do diagonal stuff. This would be a good opportunity to maybe roll from one to the next, right? These things keep bleeding. Absorb that little corrective action and then roll it further, stuff like that. So I do like CNC. Let's add that to our bear, which is fun because I didn't even list any bears yet before this class. So we'll see if we can find some more. All right, I like that. Thanks, Bill. Dave's got OKTA. And he's got a question with it. Is this a -1 or a 0 trade, or where could it go? And well, let's analyze it. I would, the first inkling for me is it's a -1, and the reason being is because when you start to draw your sideways lines, you can see support and resistance areas. Let me see if I can keep this from disappearing, so I can leave these out while I draw them. Here's this little support there. I'll have to redraw that line. Little resistance, but then it slipped, didn't it? Slipped a little bit lower. Kind of found an area that it is consolidating just below. So it's a tighter consolidation, but the rollover here on that 20-day and the way that it's just kind of bleeding, moving sideways, just bleeding lower, I would definitely lean towards a -1. Now, that being said, folks, you can set up a trade that is a 0 to -1, can't we? Right? We can do kind of a targeted butterfly on it. We could do a out-of-the-money put calendar spread, which is kind of a 0 to -1. So there are ways to do that. Or even a vertical credit spread with its in-between strike prices. So you can get creative. That's why I like this class. So Dave, you can get the best of both worlds. How can I get a little bit of credit just in case this thing goes sideways? But if it starts to slip, I don't want to get punished, but maybe even reward it. So you can set up the -1 to 0 trades, things like that. But I like that. I'm going to go ahead and just put it on the bear. But you know what? Let's do our asterisk. And that means it's going to be sideways, right? Whenever there's an asterisk, it's going to be two directions or possibly two directions. All right, I like that. Well, thanks. Okay, so let me go through a couple that I've been looking at. These are on the same watch list that we've been following. I've got them recorded so far in Post-it notes, folks. But I'm going to start building them into a portfolio, maybe even starting to take some of these trades as a class. I told you we're going to progress with this. Just depends on how I can get on top of it. So let's get to back to the bull side here. I like CrowdStrike. Very similar pattern to what we've seen. One of those stocks that you've heard and seen before. Nothing new. We still have those same stocks that people like to chatter about months and months ago are still on the forefront, right? They're still the ones that people, or I should say, that are moving higher. So I do love the ascending triangle pattern. Not a massive surge to the upside. I don't like to chase. Sometimes when I get surges, personally, I feel like I might be paying a little bit too much, even though an $8.82 move is a pretty good surge. But to CrowdStrike, it's not too big of a deal. But I do like it. I like the way that it's continuing a little higher, a little bit of a retracement today. Once again, remember our basically the news is, okay, we know we've got that market that's bullish. We got the surge outside of that resistance, but okay, what do we do with this bullish surge with good news? Do we continue higher here, or is this where we flip-flop and retest? The answer is it doesn't really matter. You just need to put on a trade that can absorb that and lean towards that +2 longer term. But CrowdStrike's one that is on my list. I think it's a lot of fun. Here's one that nobody's seen before, right? Palantir. I've never heard of this company, so I thought it'd be pretty interesting to share with you. Yeah, that's not a good joke, but all right. So same idea. Sideways here, ascending triangle pattern. This had no problem floating through it a week or so ago. Consolidating, looks like it's going to float through it again. It might look like it's a little bit extended, and it's because the price action is moving away from the moving averages. So I would not be surprised if it consolidates a little bit. Can we make money in consolidation to the bull side? Of course we can. Out of the money, horizontal spread using calls, targeted butterflies, vertical spreads that are maybe 1.5 to 1, slightly in the money, or I should say in the money and out the money, put it right in between. There are ways to take advantage of that while you're waiting. Let's get to the sideways side, because I liked this one. And it wasn't just Delta. A couple airlines are doing that as well. Let's analyze this, and then we'll take a look at it. So we're stuck in this rock and a hard place. Now, we did get the consumer sentiment number, if you guys saw that, and it was lower. It went from 98 to 93, and I just giggled. And, it was one of the bigger moves to the downside in quite a while, but we're in the 90s. So, I mean, the consumer's still out there. Now, oil and gas has gone up and down and up and down, and these airlines are susceptible to it. However, I think people will travel. So we've got this, well, what do we do? Do we go down or do we go up? That's kind of my long story here. Now doesn't matter because we're following price action. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of jump up and react. I imagine the gap up. If oil becomes cheaper, it'll go a little higher. However, if the consumer doesn't want to travel, it'll go a little lower, and we can write that story. So between then and now, we can start to play the sideways game. Now we are getting into the peak of travel, so that these might get more active. Let's take a look at. I saw Love. This is Southwest Airlines. Very, very familiar. This one looks a little bit more pessimistic because it looks like it's trying to set another lower high. But what do we refer to this? This is the little M for murder here. So you got that little hiccup there. Here's your. So this 31 is going to be very, very important when it comes to at least the pattern on a price action. But we've got a very flat 200-day moving average. We've got a 20 that crossed the 50, and they're trying to come back together. I imagine what this would look on Bollinger Bands. But there is opportunity here. If you're comfortable with something sideways to down to 31 and then back maybe up to 32, that might be a trade to place. Let's just keep going on our rant with airlines. Now, here's Alaska. This one looks a little weaker, and the reason being is, remember, we saw the flat 200 on Southwest, but here we've got price action comfortably below it. So this might be a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit more of a rollover, something a little bit more sideways to bearish, and let's just throw them all in there. Here's American Airlines, very similar to the other two, but below the 200-day moving average. So strength-wise, when it just comes to price action itself, you probably want to be leaning towards Southwest Airlines or Delta, at least on the ones I showed you, because they are just above that 200-day, more of a consolidation pattern. Well, that was a pretty big rant on that. Let's get into Expedia Group, consumer cyclical. Geez, does it do anything similar? Yes, it does. This is a travel site. This has got a little bit more of a bullish lean to it. I did put it in the sideways because it might just struggle at this level or maybe even this level as it bounces. It looks like it might be turning now, but we do have a range. We have kind of a range established. Let me draw it for you. I'm looking all the way back here. So it's a wider one, and then we'll take a look at, this could just be a little bit of a high set, but it does correlate with things in the past. So kind of a 175 top. It's at that 167.5 area here, and what is that, about 157, 156? So it's a wider range, but you can see it is establishing something. Lean towards maybe the Condor stuff. Or you could play the short term, move to the up or back, playing the range bound. So something else to look at there. Now, the last one I have on the sideways is NRG. And this is more of a high base. And it's what I liked about it is it's just in this kind of, okay, utilities is something that people need, but it's kind of associated into energy, but it's not its own sector. If we get a slowdown when it comes to the economy, is that going to really affect it? And there's all sorts of questions there, but it is establishing a pretty comfortable range. Seems like a stock where its price is pretty strong. It had a pretty good move to the upside here, and it's just kind of holding on, not ready to be abandoned. I think this is a little bit more of a true sideways. I think it correlates a little bit with a market that's already half glass full, a little bit of a +2, +3 market, but it doesn't seem to know where to go yet. You got the 160, 150. It's at 154.80, right in the middle of something if you wanted to throw a dart at something sideways there. Now, as always, folks, these can change. What I like about the midweeks is it's midweek. You teach this class, and we're talking about things, and at the end of the day, the markets could set new highs. At the end of the day, it could fall apart, and we could lose 2%. I mean, that's what's so fun is we get to play with what's in front of us, and that's about all we got. So there we are. All right, here comes another one across the board here, ISRG. Okay, this is kind of another, this is interesting. So we got healthcare, and I had another one that I was going to share. I think it was ABBV. We actually talked about it yesterday as well. These are also in kind of a situation of, do we go sideways or am I just going to go lower? So what I would look at with this, Dave, is it gapped down, had this huge range candle, came back, and then it's just kind of meandering around at this area. So it is definitely below those moving averages. It is definitely showing that, something price adjusted, and it's back into this area that we saw, the March and April. So can we play it range bound? My first instinct is yes. I would, let me get the arrow, this will help. You've got a pretty good sizable reaction with some good volume, and it set a pretty good range of, this was dying, but then buyers just came in really aggressively on that 500 mark. I don't know why, but that's all I'm seeing in the chart. So it comes back down and it touches this again. Seems like it gets bought here if you take a look at some of these shadows. So whenever it comes back down, it seems like it's being acquired. However, unless it can get above that, I think this might do the same pattern. So to expect this to maybe roll over, go down and retest, that's fine. This could be another sideways trade for sure. I'll put it in there. Didn't think I was going to find so many sidewayses today, right? But hey, when you got a market that breaks out, kind of retests, and it has been consolidating, it's a little bit more common than you think. So right along those same lines, let's take a look at that ABBV. And wow, there's another good range to the sideways. I believe we had this. Let me go through my notes here, folks. Yeah, we had it sideways a couple of weeks ago, I think on the 10th. And look at that. It's just stayed within this range. It's a little wider. Nice bounce here off about the 182 level. A good resistance set at that just shy of the 194. But yeah, something chopping around there. Might be a pretty good trade. All right. Write that one in as 2. All right. Well, wind it down. Looks like we're about into the time. We've got some pretty good trades to look at. Let's take a look at just the overall markets. Oh, good. Mike typed in a trade as well. So this is the Qs. I always look at the SPY, so I figured, hey, if we got some time, let's look at the Qs. This one's already back up to its levels and exceeding it. So the SPY is not quite there. So with the Qs, I could be comfortable giving it not only a +3 for the week, but a +3 for the month, knowing full well, folks, that +3 can correct and turn into a 0, then a +3, 0, things like that. So I like it a little bit more, obviously, and we've seen the groups, and we've seen the charts, and we've seen the stocks that are participating in it. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. Truthfully, it's that simple. Boy, it's not that simple because emotionally you have to trade these things, right? But overall, the charting has been. Oh, that's not Target, is it? Or TGX? Sorry, TX. Okay, that's none of those. Okay, TG Therapeutics. Thanks, Mike. Oh, look at this. Kind of a sideways, but boy, almost a consolidation. Take into consideration this. Okay, so here's something that's cool with these. When you see the biotechnologies, you get this quite often. Usually anticipation of an FDA approval or a drug that's being announced or a patent that's coming up that they need to redo or an acquisition from another company. I don't imagine the stock's probably too big for it. But so when you see squeezing on biotech, just as kind of a fun thing on the site, folks, do some research. Just take a look. Go down to the news and say, or see, what are they doing? Do they have anything that's being FDA reviewed right now? Is there any sort of news? Because that's kind of how these things will behave. And then once the announcement happens, boom, it'll shoot up or down. However, the consolidation's kind of cool to maybe, hey, if there's no news on this thing for a little while, maybe I can play something range bound or sideways. So I like it. Thanks, Mike. That's a pretty cool one to talk about because of how these things can pop. I guess these all are earnings when you see the pop there, but a lot of them are susceptible to that. So they are super volatile. Let me put that in sideways with an asterisk. All right, TG. If I can type it in right. There we go. Cool. Excellent. Thanks. That's a good one. Okay, let's go back to the home. Any other trades? Because if that's that, we can just jump off. I like to keep these short and sweet, and then we'll go. Yeah, see, I did last call, and you know what? I say last call, and you always get that last person that walks up to the bar. Wait. Let me get a beer and a shot. And here she is. Thanks, Cassandra. Here is Caterpillar. That's a joke, by the way. I'm just teasing. Very nice. Look at this. Great. Kind of the same idea that we're seeing in the overall markets. I love it. I like to see larger companies, larger stocks, industrials. I wonder, Deere's probably looking very, I don't know if it's similar. We'll take a look at it if you want. But high base, just waiting for something in the market to give it an oomph to push higher. And it did. Gapped up, consolidating sideways. This is a great one. Thanks. Boy, I'm glad you came back for last call because that's a fun one. Nice. Now, once again, gaps up, moving sideways. What can we do with this? Well, let's play +1 or +0 to +1, 0 to +2 even. Targeted butterflies, out of the money. Calendar spreads using calls. Let it consolidate. And if it pops up again, you're safe. Things like that. I like it. Put cat in there. And then Kelvin had to follow suit. Let's get into AT&T. There you go. Now this is consolidation. Jeez, look at that. So a couple of ways to play this because most of these well, AT&T, this is interesting. When you see this reaction and then it just comes back, and by the time it gets any sort of area, it just reacts. But the overall this, and what's neat is when you get a chart that's this obvious, I don't even need the lines. If you just take a look at the moving averages, they're drawing the lines for me. So a couple things with this. Sideways to up, great. Now, if you want to be super patient, because we did see some other sideways trades out there that are pretty decent as well. How about confirmation of a breakout? Now, what would be really neat is to catch something to the upside on this with decent volume and a pretty good candle. So being patient on this, this would be one that I don't know if I'd really want to do something sideways to up on this. It's a tighter range. Don't get me wrong, everything is going to be relative. But in this situation, it might be okay. This is a sector in the communication services, AT&T, telecom services. There's either really great ones and there's ones that are just kind of meandering. But when they do break, you want to be on it. So I'd put this on a longer term up, a longer term bull, or play something like maybe a broken wing butterfly. Say a targeted broken wing up to about 29. So if it goes sideways, you're doing pretty good. But if it breaks out, you don't get punished for it. Something like that. I'm going to put it in the bull watch though, for sure. If I can. There we go. All right, good. All right, guys. That might be it for today. Well, all right, one more. You keep talking me into it. Let's do DUOL for a short. Tech and software. Okay, this is a good one to end on because these are tough. And why I say these are tough, they're tough for me. I'll just say that. This was just massive, doing very, very well. And I imagine there's some sort of piece of news or rumor or association with something. Something bad, something wrong, something missed, something rumored. I'm not even look, doesn't matter. But this price action is kind of a free fall. Now, free fall is fine. Understand that if you're trying to catch that falling knife, it can bounce on you and it can bounce hard. So my 2 cents, and thanks Kelvin for this, my 2 cents is I just leave these alone until they establish some sort of two things: manageable price action and measurable price movement. I just want to say, hey, where's a place where buyers will stop, where sellers will stop selling and buyers will come in? Until I get a push-pull and an established measurable move or bounce, things like that, we do not have the advantage. It's an absolute guess. I could buy the 415 puts, and it goes to 340, and I'm a genius. I could buy the 415 puts, and it bounces up to 460. You see what I'm saying? So this is more of a coin flip when they start to fall like this. On top of which, you will pay too much. The volatility is too high. The options are already overpriced, regardless of what you're trying to do. Now, you can do the credit and try to play that volatility, but volatility usually relates to a move. So that bounce, you won't survive. I guess what I'm trying to say is these are very difficult to catch because we don't have probabilities in our favor. But thanks. That's a good one to end on. Appreciate it. All right, guys, let me share what we have, and then I'll cut you loose. So this is our list for today. If you guys want to jot this down, go right ahead. If not, I will definitely post this video here in the next hour or so, and you can take a look at it then. All right, so let's see where these markets end up. Pretty good, pretty good positive news out there. The markets were already moving positive. We've got ceasefire going on. Everything's great. So now that everything's great, is this where we start to slide lower? Is this where we have the corrective action? Do people take profits after this big move to the upside? Well, we'll see. But past that, we'll probably just stay out of their way. I think it's all cool if we just continue to play these sideways up, or the sideways trades we talked about, but lean towards that plus side. +2, +3 is probably a good place to find yourself. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me, and thank you so much for the participation. We're just going to keep making this class better. Talk to you next time. Bye, folks.